After 60, something in a long marriage can change quietly. Maybe it begins with the body, maybe with health medication, or simply the passing of time. And one day you realize that the kind of physical closeness you once shared no longer feels the same. What catches many couples off guard is not the change itself, but the silence that follows it. You may assume emotional intimacy will naturally grow stronger and fill the space that the hugs, the hand-holding, and the quiet evenings together will somehow become enough. Sometimes they do, but sometimes without either person intending it. Two people who still love each other begin living with a distance neither knows how to name. And this is where the story can take a different turn. Closeness after 60 does not have to look like it did 20 or 30 years ago. It can become quieter, more intentional, and deeply personal. The couples who navigate this transition well are not waiting for something to replace what they lost. They are learning how to build something meaningful for the life they have now. 1. The loss. There's a small orange bottle on my nightstand now. It wasn't there 10 years ago. Neither was the ache in my knees some mornings, or the way my energy used to carry me late into the night and now taps out by 9. Bodies change after 60, that's not a secret, and I'm not here to pretend otherwise. Health shifts. Medications interfere. Stress from a life fully lived leaves its mark on desire, on stamina, on the parts of intimacy that once felt effortless. None of that is a verdict on who you are, or on what your marriage is worth. I think a lot of us try to hide this. We joke about it, or we go quiet, as if admitting the change makes it worse somehow. It doesn't. What makes it worse is pretending it isn't happening while your partner lies right beside you, wondering the same thing in silence. Two people side by side, each protecting the other from a truth that both already know. The body changing is not the marriage ending. Those are two separate facts, and we keep treating them like one. A relationship that has survived decades together does not lose its worth because the physical language of it starts to shift. It simply asks for a new dialect, not a smaller one, a different one. The love underneath was never the fragile part. The gestures were, so if something in you is felt embarrassed or afraid to name what's different lately, let that go tonight. Naming it is not weakness, pretending is the weakness, and it costs you both more than the truth ever would. What changes physically does not have to disappear emotionally. But naming the change is only the first step, and there's a quiet mistake that tends to follow right after it. One I made myself for longer than I'd like to admit. 2. The automatic assumption I used to believe something that turned out to be dangerously wrong. I thought if the physical side of a marriage quiets down, the emotional side simply grows to take its place, the way water finds a lower ground. Nobody has to plan for it. It just happens, one soft moment building on another. That belief cost me 18 months of drifting quietly away from my own wife, without either of us noticing. Friends told us the same thing, that time softens everything, that love finds its own way. I believed them mostly because it was easier than asking hard questions. What actually happened was smaller than that hope and far less honest. We started holding hands more. A goodnight kiss became the whole of our evening ritual. We sat close on the couch, out of habit, out of comfort, and I told myself this was closeness. It looked like closeness from the outside. Anyone watching us would have called it a good marriage, but we had stopped asking each other anything. What do I need tonight? What do you need from me? What actually makes you feel close to me right now, not 20 years ago? Those questions went quiet along with everything else, and habit slid into the space where curiosity used to live. A goodnight kiss done on autopilot is not connection. It is maintenance. And maintenance keeps a house standing without anyone living fully inside it. We were good at maintenance. We had simply forgotten how to build. My wife and I were maintaining our marriage beautifully while the actual closeness between us thinned out, week by week, without either of us saying a word. Love can remain strong while connection quietly becomes weaker. But covering the gap with familiar habits does not make it disappear, and right behind that comfort waits a particular kind of silence. The kind both of us walked into without ever meaning to. 3. The silence. Most couples who struggle after 60 are not struggling because the love ran out. That surprised me when I first understood it. The trouble usually starts somewhere quieter, in the space where both people become too careful around each other to say what they actually feel. One of you is scared of putting pressure on the other, of turning a simple gesture into an expectation neither of you can meet anymore. The other is scared of something just as painful, of seeming undesirable, or somehow not enough, if the truth ever gets spoken out loud. So you both do the kind thing. You stay quiet, thinking silence is protecting the person you love. Both of you mean well. That's what makes it so easy to miss. It rarely is. Silence feels gentle for a while, almost peaceful, like you have simply agreed not to make things harder than they need to be. But keep it up for months, and it hardens into something with its own weight, a distance neither of you chose, and neither of you can quite name. Couples living this way often look fine from the outside. No arguments, no raised voices, dinner still cooked, holidays still planned. Underneath all of it, though, something feels thin. You can sit across from the person you married for 4 decades and still feel a strange kind of loneliness settle into the room. Silence is not the same as peace. Real peace comes from two people who know exactly where they stand with each other, even when that knowledge is uncomfortable. What passes for peace in so many marriages after 60 is closer to avoidance, wearing a calm face. Sometimes the greatest threat to closeness is not conflict, but the things couples are too careful to say. So what does it actually look like to break that silence without turning it into a heavy conversation neither of you wants to have? 4. The new connection. My wife and I stopped trying to get back what we used to have. That single decision changed everything more than any conversation did. We were no longer measuring our nights against the ones we had in our 30s. Instead, we asked a much smaller, much more honest question. What kind of closeness still feels real to us now? The answer surprised me with how little it required a hand resting on a shoulder while we watched the evening news. Sitting closer on the porch than strictly necessary, just to feel her arm against mine. A hug that lasted 5 extra seconds instead of the automatic 2. Looking at her while she talked. Actually looking, instead of nodding at my phone. Asking her plainly how her body felt that day. And meaning the question. None of that sounds dramatic written down. It wasn't dramatic to live either. What made it work was intention. A hand on a shoulder out of habit means almost nothing. The same hand placed there because you chose in that moment to reach for her means something entirely different, and she can feel the difference even if neither of you says a word about it. I want to be clear about something. This is not us settling for less. It is not a smaller, sadder version of what marriage used to look like in our house. It is its own language, built specifically for two people at this age, in these bodies, with this much history between them. Younger couples don't have access to what we built. They haven't lived long enough yet. The goal was never to recreate the past. It was to build a new language of closeness. It took a health scare to finally push us toward that new language, and I have spent plenty of quiet nights since wishing we hadn't waited for one. 5. The preparation. If I could go back and change one thing, it wouldn't be anything about the diagnosis itself. It would be the 18 months before, at all those ordinary Tuesday nights, when everything between my wife and I still worked fine, and I never once thought to build anything new because nothing yet seemed broken. That's the mistake almost every couple makes. We wait for illness or age or some clear signal that the old ways no longer apply, and only then do we start the conversation we should have started years earlier. By then you're negotiating from a place of loss, trying to build something new while also grieving something old, and that's a much harder place to build from. Start now while things are still steady. Ask her plainly what makes her feel loved these days, because the answer at 60 is rarely the same one it was at 30. Ask how she likes to be touched now. Ask what actually makes her feel close to you, not what used to. Ask what the two of you most want to protect in this marriage going forward. You'll try things that don't quite land. A gesture that felt right in your head falls flat in practice, and that's fine. Talk about it. Adjust. Try again. Slowly, it becomes less like an experiment and more like a habit you both reach for. Without thinking, that habit is worth more than you know, because when real change eventually arrives, and it always does eventually, you won't be starting from nothing. The couples who adapt best are not the ones who find the answer at the last minute. They are the ones who started building before they needed it. Physical intimacy after 60 can change more than any of us expect. But intimacy itself never has to disappear. The shape of it is different now, and that's all right. You don't need to become the version of yourself from 20 or 30 years ago. What you need is to trust that a long relationship can always grow into a new language, one built from a touch, a longer hug, a steady look across the room, an honest conversation, or simply the quiet feeling of "I am with you." It might even be better once you build it on purpose. Don't wait for distance to arrive before you try to fill it. Start with something small tonight. So tell me in the comments below, what kind of closeness makes you feel most loved after 60?